Sergeant David Cross opened Cross's eyes to darkness and the metallic taste of blood. Cross's left side screamed with pain. Cross's right leg wouldn't move. The last thing Cross remembered was the explosion. The vehicle flipping, the world spinning into chaos. Now Cross was alone in what looked like an abandoned building, and Cross could hear footsteps approaching. Slow, deliberate. The footsteps of someone who had all the time in the world. Cross reached for Cross's weapon, but Cross's holster was empty. Cross was defenseless, wounded, and about to meet whoever was coming through that door. What Cross didn't know was that the man approaching wasn't coming to finish Cross off. The man was coming to pay a debt 3 years overdue. Before we continue, I want to know where you're watching from. Drop your name and city in the comments right now. Let's see how far this story reaches across the world. The door creaked open. A figure entered, backlit by moonlight. The silhouette was unmistakably armed. Cross tried to push Cross's body backward, away from the threat. But Cross's leg refused to cooperate. Cross's vision swam. Cross was losing blood fast. The figure moved closer, knelt beside Cross, and in the dim light filtering through broken windows, Cross saw the man's face. Middle-aged, weathered, wearing civilian clothes, but carrying an AK-47. The eyes were what struck Cross most. Not hateful, not cold, just infinitely tired. The man spoke in heavily accented English. The man said to Cross, "You are badly hurt, American. Don't move. I will help you." Cross's mind couldn't process it. This made no sense. An Iraqi man with a rifle, finding an American soldier alone and helpless, offering help instead of bullets. Cross managed to croak out, "Who are you?" The man was already opening a medical kit. Not military issue, civilian supplies, but comprehensive. The man said to Cross while working, "My name is Dr. Hamid Qasim. I was surgeon in Baghdad before the war. Now I am nothing. But tonight, I am your doctor." Cross watched as Qasim's hands moved with practiced efficiency, cutting away Cross's uniform, examining the shrapnel wounds in Cross's side, checking Cross's leg, which was clearly broken. Every touch was professional, careful, exactly what a trained surgeon would do. Cross asked Qasim through gritted teeth, "Why are you helping me? You're insurgent?" Qasim paused. Qasim met Cross's eyes. Qasim said to Cross, "Yes, I fight Americans. I fight the invasion of my country. But before I was fighter, I was doctor. And doctors have oath. First, do no harm." Qasim returned to treating Cross's wounds. "Also, I have debt to pay." Cross asked Qasim, "What debt?" Qasim didn't answer immediately. Qasim worked in silence, cleaning wounds, applying bandages, setting up a makeshift splint for Cross's leg. Finally, Qasim reached into Qasim's pocket and pulled out a photograph. Crumpled, worn, obviously carried for a long time. Qasim held the photo, where Cross could see it. It showed a little girl, maybe 8 years old, lying in a hospital bed, smiling despite obvious injuries. And standing beside the bed, in U.S. Army uniform, was a soldier. Cross squinted at the photo. Cross's heart stopped. The soldier in the photo was Cross. Cross whispered, "That was 3 years ago. The clinic in Mosul." Qasim nodded. Qasim said to Cross, "You remember? Good. That little girl is my daughter, Layla. She was caught in crossfire between insurgents and American soldiers. Your unit found her. You carried her to field hospital. You stayed with her until local doctors arrived. You saved her life." Cross did remember. Cross remembered that day vividly. The firefight that erupted in a market. The screaming. The chaos. Finding a child bleeding among the rubble. Cross's commanding officer, Captain Winters, had said they didn't have time for civilian casualties. But Cross had refused to leave her. Winters had cursed but ultimately called for medical evacuation. The girl had survived. Cross said to Qasim, "I didn't know she was your daughter." Qasim said to Cross, "How could you? I was not there. I was hiding, already fighting against Americans by then. My wife brought Layla to market that day. My wife died in the crossfire. But Layla lived because of you." Qasim finished bandaging Cross's side. So, tonight, when I find wounded American soldier in building my unit uses for operations, and I see your name on your uniform, I know what I must do. I must repay debt. Cross processed this. Cross asked Qasim, "Your unit, there are others?" Qasim said to Cross, "6 men. They are outside securing perimeter. They think I am checking building before we bring in weapons. They don't know you are here. Yet." Cross understood the implication. Cross asked Qasim, "What happens when they find out?" Qasim's face hardened. Qasim said to Cross, "They will want to kill you, or capture you for propaganda. Either way, you die." Slowly, Qasim stood. "So they must not find out. I will take you to American lines. 3 kilometers north, I know safe route." Cross stared at Qasim. Cross said to Qasim, "You'll be killed if they catch you helping me." Qasim said to Cross, "Yes, I will be traitor, collaborator. They will execute me. But you saved my daughter, my only child, the only family I have left. This is what honor demands. If this story is hitting you, I need you to do something right now. Comment your name and what country or city you're watching from. Let's build a global community right here in the comments." Before Cross could respond, voices called from outside, shouting in Arabic, urgent tones. Qasim tensed. Qasim moved to the window, looked out carefully. Qasim said to Cross quietly, "Problem. They see your unit searching for you. Half-kilometer away, moving this direction. My men want to set ambush." Qasim turned back to Cross. "We must move. Now, before they realize what I am doing." Qasim helped Cross stand. Every movement was agony. Cross's broken leg couldn't bear weight. Qasim pulled Cross's arm over Qasim's shoulders, supporting Cross's weight. The 2 men moved toward a back entrance Cross hadn't noticed before. They made it 10 meters before a voice called out behind them. Sharp, suspicious. Another insurgent had entered the building. The man stood in the doorway, AK-47 lowering toward them. The man shouted something in Arabic. Qasim responded in Arabic, calm, authoritative. The other man argued back, gesturing at Cross. The situation was deteriorating fast. Qasim said something else in Arabic, firm, final. The other insurgent hesitated. Then the man raised the rifle, aiming at Cross's head. Qasim moved, faster than Cross thought possible for a man Qasim's age. Qasim stepped between Cross and the rifle. Qasim spoke rapidly in Arabic, pleading, commanding, explaining. The other insurgent's eyes widened. The man lowered the rifle slightly. The man looked between Qasim and Cross. The man shook his head slowly, saying something that sounded like a question. Qasim responded. One word. Definitive. The other insurgent stared at Qasim for a long moment. Then, incredibly, the man slung the rifle over his shoulder. The man moved to Cross's other side. The man took Cross's other arm, helping support Cross's weight. The man said to Qasim in broken English, "We go fast. Others come soon." Cross couldn't believe what was happening. 2 insurgents, enemies of America, helping Cross escape. Cross asked Qasim, "What did you tell him?" Qasim said to Cross while they moved, "I told him about Layla, about what you did. I told him we owe life debt. He understands. His name is Rashid. His brother was killed by Americans. But he is good man. He understands honor." The 3 men moved through the ruined building, out a back exit into narrow alleyways. Every step was torture for Cross. Cross's vision kept blurring. Cross was losing too much blood, even with Qasim's treatment. Cross might not make 3 kilometers. Behind them, shouts erupted. The other insurgents had discovered them, realized what was happening. Gunfire cracked in the night. Bullets ricocheted off stone walls around them. Rashid shouted something in Arabic. Qasim shouted back. The 2 men moved faster, practically dragging Cross now. They ducked into another building, through a hole in a wall, across a rubble-strewn courtyard. More gunfire. Closer now. Cross could hear multiple weapons. Qasim's entire unit was pursuing them. And these men knew the terrain, knew every alley, every hiding spot. It was only a matter of time before they caught up. They reached what looked like an old market square, abandoned, destroyed by previous fighting. No cover, no concealment. They'd have to cross 50 meters of open ground to reach the next cluster of buildings. Qasim looked at the square, looked at Cross. Qasim's face showed the calculation Qasim was making. They wouldn't make it across. Not together. Not with Cross injured and slow. Qasim said to Rashid in English, so Cross would understand, "Take him. I will hold them here. Give you time." Rashid protested in Arabic. Sharp, angry, clearly arguing against Qasim's plan. Qasim cut Rashid off. Qasim said to Rashid in English, "No choice. You know this. Get him to Americans. Tell them Dr. Hamid Qasim sent him. Tell them to find my daughter. Take care of her. She works as translator at Green Zone. She doesn't know I am insurgent. She thinks I am dead. Let her keep thinking this. Let her stay safe." Cross grabbed Qasim's arm. Cross said to Qasim, "There has to be another way." Qasim smiled, sad, resigned. Qasim said to Cross, 3 years ago, you gave me gift of my daughter's life. Tonight, I give you gift of your life. We are even now, Sergeant Cross. Go home. Tell your family you met good Iraqi man who remembered kindness." Before Cross could argue, Qasim pulled away. Qasim moved to a position behind rubble at the edge of the square. Qasim checked Qasim's rifle. Qasim looked back at Cross one last time. Qasim said to Cross, "Thank you for saving Layla. She became doctor because of you. She wanted to help people the way American soldier helped her. You changed her life. You changed my life, even though I fought against you. War makes us enemies. Humanity makes us brothers." Rashid pulled Cross forward. Cross tried to resist, but Cross had no strength left. Rashid dragged Cross across the square as gunfire erupted behind them. Qasim's rifle answered the insurgents' weapons. Buying seconds, buying distance, buying Cross's life with Qasim's own. Cross heard the firefight intensify, heard Qasim's weapon go silent, heard the shouts of the other insurgents, victorious and angry, heard the single shot that Cross knew, deep in Cross's soul, had just ended Dr. Hamid Qasim's life. Rashid kept moving, kept dragging Cross forward. They reached the buildings, kept going, through more alleys, more ruins. Behind them, the shouts faded. The insurgents had stopped to deal with Qasim's body, to understand what their comrade had done, to decide whether to continue pursuit. Rashid and Cross moved for another 15 minutes. Finally, they saw lights ahead. American lights, a patrol. Rashid stopped at the edge of the safe zone. Rashid said to Cross, "I go now. You tell them insurgent helped you. They won't believe, but you tell them anyway. You tell them some Iraqis are good. Some remember kindness." Cross grabbed Rashid's arm. Cross said to Rashid, "Come with me. We can protect you, give you asylum." Rashid shook his head. Rashid said to Cross, "I am fighter. I have killed Americans. I will die in this war. But tonight, I help American. For Dr. Qasim, for honor, for proving we are still human." Rashid pulled away. "Find Layla. Tell her father died hero. Don't tell her he was insurgent. Let her keep good memory." Before Cross could respond, Rashid disappeared into the shadows, gone as quickly as Qasim had appeared, leaving Cross alone, wounded, alive, with a story no one would believe. Cross stumbled toward the American lights. Cross's own unit. They saw Cross, rushed forward. Lieutenant Sawyer, Cross's platoon leader, caught Cross as Cross collapsed. Sawyer said to Cross, "Cross, my God, we thought you were dead. What happened? Where have you been?" Cross looked up at Sawyer. Cross tried to explain about Qasim, about Layla, about the debt repaid, about the sacrifice. But Cross's words came out jumbled, confused. Sawyer thought Cross was delirious from blood loss. Sawyer said to the medics, "Get him stabilized. He's not making sense. Talking about insurgents saving him. Definitely concussed." They loaded Cross onto a stretcher. As they carried Cross away, Cross saw something fall from Cross's pocket. The photograph. The one Qasim had shown Cross. The little girl in the hospital bed. The soldier standing beside her. 3 years captured in a moment of kindness. Cross reached for the photo. Cross clutched it. Cross would keep it, would carry it, would remember. 2 days later, Cross woke up in a field hospital. Cross's wounds were treated. Cross's leg was in a cast. Cross was alive. The debriefing officer came to question Cross about what happened. Cross told the truth, every detail. The officer looked skeptical. The officer said to Cross, "Sergeant, you're saying an insurgent doctor saved your life, helped you escape, sacrificed himself for you?" Cross said to the officer, "Yes, sir. That's exactly what happened." The officer made notes. The officer's face showed the officer didn't believe a word. The officer said to Cross, "We'll investigate. But Cross, between you and me, that's quite a story. Sounds like maybe you took a harder hit to the head than we thought." Cross didn't argue. Cross just asked, "Sir, there's a young woman, works as a translator in the Green Zone. Name is Layla Qassim. Can you check on her? Make sure she's okay?" The officer raised an eyebrow. The officer said to Cross, "Why?" Cross said to the officer, "Because her father asked me to, and I owe him that much." The officer agreed to check. 3 days later, the officer returned. The officer confirmed that yes, there was a translator named Layla Qassim. Excellent reputation. Her father had been a surgeon in Baghdad, killed in the early days of the war, or so everyone thought. Cross asked the officer, "Can I meet her?" The officer arranged it. 1 week later, Cross sat in a small office in the Green Zone. Cross's legs still in a cast, Cross's side still bandaged, waiting nervously. The door opened. A young woman entered, late 20s, professional, wearing Western clothes. She looked at Cross with polite curiosity. She said to Cross, "Sergeant Cross, they said you wanted to speak with me. Is this about a translation assignment?" Cross looked at her. Cross saw Qassim's eyes in her face. Cross's throat tightened. Cross said to her, "No, Miss Qassim, I wanted to talk to you about your father." Her expression shifted. Pain, old grief. She said to Cross, "My father died 10 years ago, during the invasion." Cross shook Cross's head. Cross said to her, "No, he died 2 weeks ago, saving my life." For the next hour, Cross told her everything. Showed her the photograph. Described Qassim in detail. Told her about the debt and the sacrifice and the last words Qassim had said. Told her that her father had wanted her to believe he died long ago. Wanted her safe. Wanted her unburdened by the truth of what Qassim had become. Layla listened, tears streaming down her face. When Cross finished, she was silent for a long moment. Finally, Layla said to Cross, "You are the soldier from the hospital. I remember you. You stayed with me. You held my hand while the doctors worked. You told me I would be okay." Cross nodded. Cross said to Layla, "Your father remembered too. That's why he saved me." Layla asked Cross, "Was he good man? At the end?" Cross met her eyes. Cross said to Layla with absolute certainty, "He was the best man I've ever met, enemy or not. He chose honor over safety, chose to save a life instead of take one, chose to repay kindness even when it cost him everything. Your father died a hero, Miss Qassim, and he died loving you." Layla cried. Cross let her. Finally, she composed herself. She said to Cross, "Thank you, Sergeant, for telling me truth, for carrying his memory, for being kind to a little girl 10 years ago. You changed our lives." Cross said to Layla, "Your father changed mine." Years later, after Cross returned home, after Cross left the army, after Cross tried to build a normal life, Cross would think about that night often, about Dr. Hamid Qassim, insurgent and surgeon, enemy and savior, about the debt that transcended war, about the humanity that survives even in the darkest places. Cross kept the photograph, framed it, hung it in Cross's home office. When people asked about it, Cross told them the story. Some believed it. Most didn't. Cross didn't care. Cross knew the truth. War makes enemies, but it also reveals who we really are. Some people let war make them monsters. Others find ways to stay human. Dr. Qassim had fought against Cross's country, killed Cross's countrymen, opposed everything Cross was sent to do. But when faced with a choice between revenge and honor, between hate and humanity, Qasim had chosen the harder path, and that choice had saved Cross's life. Cross would honor that sacrifice by living well, by being kind, by remembering that enemies are just people on the other side of a conflict, that today's enemy might be tomorrow's savior, that kindness echoes across years and battlefields, and the artificial lines we draw between us and them. Cross stayed in contact with Layla. She eventually moved to America, became a U.S. citizen, worked as a hospital administrator, married, had children, built a life her father would have been proud of. On the anniversary of Qasim's death, Cross and Layla would meet, would remember, would honor the man who had been both enemy and friend, who had proven that humanity is stronger than hate, that debts of kindness demand repayment, even at the cost of everything. And Cross would tell Layla's children about their grandfather, about the surgeon who became a fighter, about the fighter who remained a healer, about the enemy who saved an American soldier's life because years earlier, that soldier had saved a little girl in a market in Mosul. The war ended. Soldiers came home. Iraq moved forward. But some stories endure. Some sacrifices echo. Some acts of humanity shine so bright, they illuminate the darkness around them. Dr. Hamid Qasim's sacrifice was one of those lights, and Sergeant David Cross carried that light home, shared it, let it remind the world that even in war, especially in war, we are all still human, and humanity, in the end, is what matters most.